Hi everyone, my name is Dana. I'm the parenting editor at BestProducts.com. We have such a special guest with us today, Denise Daniels. She is a parenting expert, childhood development guru. She is an expert on emotional intelligence within children. She has a background in pediatric nursing, child psychology. She is a wealth of knowledge, and we just can't wait to pick her brain today. We're going to talk all things back to school anxiety, and we're going to go over these amazing toys that she has created called Moodsters. Welcome, Denise. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Of course. So can you tell us all, and by the way, if you have any questions for Denise, feel free to send them in the comments, and we'll go through all of them if we can. So can you tell us how this became your world? How, the Moodsters toy is really about connecting with children and their emotions, right? So how did you dive into that specifically?
Well, I have a background in pediatric oncology, nursing, and child psychology, and my specialty is, or was, working with kids during crisis times. And I founded a nonprofit organization called the National Childhood Grief Institute. And that was really like giving birth to a full-grown child, because when that happened back in the early 80s, we were working with kids who had experienced significant losses. I started working with moms that were deployed for the first time in American history during Desert Storm, and I was working with so many children, and there really wasn't anything out there, no tools, no toys, no books, nothing to help kids cope with their emotions. And so my work continued with the U.S. military, and the State Department sent me all over the world to work with kids during times of crisis. And there was nothing for me to use, so I kind of made these toys on my kitchen table about 30 years ago with a hot glue gun. So that's really how it started.
Unbelievable. So
and then journey began. So
you're helping families across the globe, and you're creating tools to basically teach and educate and empower these children.
That's right. I originally developed the program called First Aid for Feelings for children that were hospitalized.
First Aid for Feelings.
First Aid for Feelings for Pfizer Pediatrics. They came to me and said, our young pediatric residents need help learning how to connect with their pediatric patients before they have complicated medical procedures. And what we learned, and this was really cool, what we learned is that children that could talk about their emotions before they had chemo or any other procedure, those kids required less pain medication and sustained shorter hospitalizations. So we really knew we were on to something, and then I went to one of my mentors and such a talented, brilliant psychologist, Dr. Mark Brackett of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and he developed a curriculum for our products, and everything we do is science-based, evidence-based, so we know that we're giving kids the very best and teaching them about emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. And so as you can see, there's so much behind these simple toys that look just fun and cute, but there's so much behind them.
There is.
And if you stay tuned, at the end of the video, we are going to go into playing with these toys and describing each of them. So, and if you're just tuning in now, we're here with childhood development expert Denise Daniels. Feel free to send your questions in. So we're going to talk a little bit about back to school anxiety right now.
Oh, that's just the time of the year.
Yeah, it's really, we're in the throes of it right now, and it's a lot. It's anxiety for children and for the parents.
Well, it is, and the thing is, Dana, it's kids that are going back to school, but it's also kids that are going to school for the first time. So anxiety is a really natural thing, and it's very common with kids. And parents sometimes are at a loss because they don't know how to handle it. So.
Absolutely. And with preschoolers, is it more of that separation anxiety?
It depends. Lots of preschoolers have been in preschool programs or in daycare, but for kids that are going to school for the very first time, they really need a lot of support. It could be the separation anxiety, which is common, and parents sometimes don't know quite how to handle that, but the key is really emotionally getting them ready. Focusing on going to big boy school or big girl school, and to do some special things with your child to prepare them. There are lots of great books, the Berenstain Bears, that you can read to your kids about starting school or the first day of school, and those are ways that that it's really natural to teach kids and build support too.
Of course. And do you have any insight on, what are some signs? Like if you have more of if your child's really quiet and they're not so outspoken, but I'm really upset and I don't want to leave you, what are some signs you can look for that maybe they are having anxiety but they're not voicing it? Like,
right. And sometimes you can take kids to school, especially preschoolers, and they'll cry, and it just tears your heart out because it's a developmental milestone for parents.
Yeah.
When their child goes off to preschool or kindergarten, that's a big deal. And some parents have a hard time with it. I know I did. I remember when my daughters went off to kindergarten, I just moped around the house for about a week.
The worst feeling ever.
It is. It just kind of, and especially if they have trouble with separation. And so that's natural, and parents shouldn't think there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with my child because they're having trouble separating. It's very natural. But if you have a child that is having that difficulty, sometimes you think, well, are they ever going to adjust to school? Should I take them home? Should I stay with them? And I think most teachers recommend that to make the separation quickly, to let them know you'll be back. One of the little tricks I used to do with my kids is put kisses in their hands and then stuff all of their pockets in their book bag with hugs and kisses, and tell them that
are you guys taking notes because this is so sweet.
But I mean, just so
where's
they
the Moodster
knew.
note?
Yeah, where's no? But I mean, just so they knew that if
exactly.
they were at school and they were having a hard time and they missed mommy or daddy, that they could just take a kiss out of their pocket and know that. And I think until my kids were in high school, I always put notes in their lunch bags.
Yeah,
and
so sweet,
we were just talking about it the other day because my kids have graduated from college, but now I have grandchildren, a year and 3.5. And I remember them saying, my son saying, Mom, it was so embarrassing because I was like the only kid in high school. And yes, I pack lunches myself. And I draw a happy face on his bag. And of course his friends made fun of him. So they're going, oh, what a loser. Mom, you are. But, and it also helped me. It made me feel better too. So it's emotionally staying connected with your child is really important. And even if you spend 20 minutes each day with your child, even if you work and we're busy, and who isn't busy? Everybody is busy.
Right.
And we're working, and it's hard to juggle it all. But if you could carve out 20 minutes like at bedtime and read a story and spend that time emotionally connecting with your child will feel emotionally prepared to take on school. And you want them ready to learn and grow when they start school.
Of course. And as they move on throughout the years of school, there's bullying, there's, cliques, and there's all different kinds of scenarios that can increase a child's anxiety before they go back to school.
Especially if they don't know kids, if they haven't been there before because they're starting a new school.
Or if they're starting a new school. Right. How do you, when your child's getting older, how would you communicate with them so that they feel comfortable voicing their fears? Because very few children want to say, yes, I'm being bullied and I'm hurt and it's upsetting me. So how do you create that open line of communication?
Well, hopefully you've started it in preschool where you have open communication. That is really a cornerstone of teaching children emotional intelligence. And a lot of people say, well, what is emotional intelligence? And what it is, it's teaching children or adults to be able to recognize, understand, and manage their emotions, but also to recognize and understand emotions in others. So that's simply put. There are lots of clinical definitions, so to speak, but that's basically what that means. And we now know, and all the research shows, that children that know emotional intelligence skills or emotional learning do better in school. They make friends and they maintain those. Or 10 points higher on standardized tests, which is really important. And you fast forward and we know now that EQ, or emotional intelligence, is just as important or even more important than a child's IQ. So when they get to school, if they're feeling anxiety, one of the things that, how do you recognize it, first of all? You asked that earlier, so let's circle back. How do you recognize that in kids? Younger children usually present with, if they're not crying, they'll present with a tummy ache, or they'll say, I don't want to go to school today, or they maybe have disturbed sleep patterns, maybe they can't get to sleep at night, and you can see that. Or some children, older children, they may withdraw, they may not want to talk about it, and it's a hard discussion to have. But 100 years ago, when I went to nursing school, we didn't have the knowledge that we have now. And we know that if you talk to your kids about their feelings, and if they're having anxiety, or if their faces are expressing, I'm nervous or whatever, that it's okay to talk about it. And it helps if parents can say, when I first started school, I was really nervous too. And you know what else? Teachers are nervous when they come back to school. Sometimes kids are, sometimes the teachers are, and it's good to be able to talk about that, or to, with younger children, we have them draw out their feelings, almost like art therapy, because it's a good way, the creative arts, to express their feelings, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But those are some of the things we look for. And the more information that kids have, I'm probably talking too much and giving too much information, but
we're just like sponges right now.
Well, everybody needs to know, right?
And how often are we openly talking about, emotional intelligence of children? It's we're worried about, do they have their binders? Do they have their stuff for basketball practice?
Yes. Do they know the alphabet? Can they read?
So this is something that's that we don't talk about as much, and it's super, super important.
It is. And now...
someone tuning in was wondering if you have any tips, like, as a side note, I don't know if it goes with this, of, like, how to make sure siblings get along, if you have any fun ways to make it feel like not forced family bonding or anything.
Family bonding!
And I'm glad somebody asked that question, because I think there is an element of forced family bonding. But, I think it depends on the age of the children and the sex of the children, how many years apart they are. So those are the kind of things I'm always looking at when we look at sibling rivalries, and age is really important, because you look at preschoolers and sometimes you look at teenagers, and there are some real similarities there. But as far as bonding goes, you want to really encourage your kids to be respectful of each other if you can, and to have certain rules in your household. We don't use bad language. We don't call each other names. We don't hit and kick. And even to little preschoolers, even to my granddaughter, I say hands are not for hitting. And one of the things I do, because she has a sister that's 1 year old. She was just 1 year old last weekend. 1 year old.
Happy birthday.
And she has a 3.5-year-old sister. And sometimes I see her, hug her a little too hard, or that kind of thing.
Right.
And you can tell there's just a little friction there, and I say to her, toys are not for hitting and taking away and taking turns. For older kids, I think sometimes even kids from the same parents can be very different. And I think kids have to be heard by their parents. If there's something that's going on with kids that they need to talk about, then you can pull that child aside and talk about the rules and teach empathy skills. That really helps. We were talking about bullying. The conversations that we need to have with our kids now is not like when I was talking about, years ago. We didn't have to talk about bullying. And so setting the ground rules early on in your family are important. I'm also a proponent of family meetings, like taking a Friday night and doing something fun together. That shouldn't be a serious time, but you can take a tissue box, empty it out, and call it an issue box. And so kids
box?
An issue box.
I need an issue box.
We all do.
We all need an issue.
The child can, if you have older kids, a little bit older. And they can write and put it in the box what the issue is. And then when you come together, you know, whatever day of the week it is, and if you're coming together, you're going out for pizza, or you're going out to talk about it, and you're having, you know, family meeting in your home, that's the time you talk about issues. And you make plans together as a family, and you get suggestions from the kids. And you want to be sure that everyone has a turn and everyone is being heard. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
With kids and the siblings getting along, you need to be talking about that and figuring out ways that you guys can get along together and say that, because you know they have to be able to communicate. Don't be discouraged, because the older they get and later in life they'll really appreciate that relationship. They may not appreciate it now, but you need to set limits in a loving, supportive way if possible.
And it's so interesting, you know, you think, like, I'm the parent, I have one parenting style, but if you have different children with different personalities,
that's a really good point.
Important to kind of, you know, switch up that parenting style for each child.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that. You could have a child that's very verbal, and another kid that just, you know, their style is very different. And we all come into parenthood with a different parenting style, right? It's our own parenting style. It's usually the one that we've grown up with. But you always have to remember, as a parent, you want to model the behavior that you expect from your child. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? So we are their role models. And I always tell parents, we're kids' very first teachers, and our homes are their very first schools. So we want to make sure that we're leading a good example. Even with talking about emotions, how do you teach kids about their emotions? You start using words yourself. You start giving examples. I have 2 sisters, and 3 girls is a lot, and my parents had to parent each one of us very differently because we have different personalities.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. But my parents...
And it worked.
And the jury's still out, but we like to think so, and my mother tells us we were. But yeah, it was challenging for my mom, but she did a very good job of listening and encouraging us to talk about how we felt and validating those feelings, which are really, really important. No matter what a child is feeling, you want to make sure that you validate their feelings, even if you don't agree, and then you can correct the behavior.
Right, and that's so important, that validation.
Yes.
And not sure if anyone else has any more questions about back to school, but I have another question.
Yeah.
To like let them open up a little bit. Like, should you just ask them, are you worried about being bullied, or should you ask them other questions that are a little bit more sensitive, or
depending again on the child. But before kids go to school, I think it's really important to have that safety conversation with them about wearing their seatbelts and their bike helmets and standing on the curb, you know, when the bus comes. But the additional conversation is that, what if your child and your child is targeted?
right.
You know, the thing is, the bully or the perpetrator doesn't have a vocabulary for their words. That's learned behavior, right? You know the difference, learned behavior. So that's why we always say the best bully prevention is being able to talk about your feelings. And they just don't have the strategies for doing that and handling their emotions. But you can prepare your child for that by teaching them to talk about their feelings. Let them know, reading nonverbal, for them to be able to identify if there's someone on the playground that's coming towards me and they look upset or angry, I can turn and walk away. I can stand up straight and say, you can't say that to me. You can get with a crowd of people, you can find an adult on the play kids to get help and to tell someone. That's a really important thing because the bully needs help too, and
Right.
it needs to be stopped. And we have to teach our kids how to set healthy boundaries, right?
Right.
All through life we need that. How many of
course.
us have a hard time saying no?
Of
And
course.
so, setting boundaries is a really great thing to teach kids. And
Feelings.
right,
So-
it's challenging, but the good thing about emotional intelligence is it grows throughout a lifetime. So it isn't something like, IQ that's really kind of fixed at birth. And then so there's hope for everybody.
There's hope for everybody. And on that note, we are going to transition here to talk about these fun Moodster toys. If you're just tuning in now, I'm here with Denise Daniels. She is a childhood development expert, and if you have any questions for her, feel free to send them in. So let's do a little walkthrough. Some of these toys
Okay.
are available right now.
Yes.
Some of these
We'll probably get to this, but they're wondering, is there an age like specific for the Moodsters? Like, do you know what age or like grade in school they're best for?
Well, the curriculum we tested from 18 months to 7 years of age because we believe this is a staggering statistic, but upwards of 30% of kindergarten teachers are reporting that children are coming to school lacking the necessary social and emotional skills to be successful in school. And if you think about that, so in our lifetime, we wait. We really wait to teach kids when they get into school. But in order for them to be able to be successful, they need to be able to understand their emotions before they get to school. So we really focused in this group on 3 to 6 is really our sweet spot because we wanted to give children the fundamentals of feelings prior to getting to school. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely.
That's a great question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm so excited about of people that have worked on these toys, and his preferred Toys R Us stores throughout the country,
So
and on
excited.
Toys R Us, so we're very happy about that. We've got product that's already in Target and on Target.com. So I'll kind of explain how it all started. Earlier I mentioned that we needed tools, and really I designed these toys as tools because parents needed to have something that they could use with their children to elicit their emotions. And so so we sat down with the toy designer and we created these wonderful toys. We used color. So it's based on 5 different characters called the Moodsters. And they're all darling little detectives that solve mood mysteries. Can you see them?
And they all have fun names too.
I know, they're really cute. These are the toys that are going to be launching for back to school, and they'll be available on ToysRUs.com and on Target.com as well. And they're so cute. Our original toys, and they're all interactive because this is really important. The first toy is a Moodster meter, and it's really cute. It was based on a feelings thermometer that I developed for children's hospitals. But this one is really fun because it teaches kids a vocabulary for their feelings. And if children can't read, because they're preschoolers,
Yes.
we have, I don't know if you can see these at all, but there are little faces of the Moodster characters. So the child presses the button, and he pushes the arrow to whatever he's feeling. So if your child is feeling angry or frustrated or mad, all those words are interchangeable for kids.
Right.
They push the little button, and our angry character is Razzie. And by the way, she's a female because little girls don't get permission in their lifetime to be angry. And then they push the button.
Love that.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Are you feeling angry?
Are you feeling angry?
Are you feeling angry? So it
Yes.
elicits a
I
response.
Yeah, someone watching
Yes.
says they need this for adults.
No. Isn't that
This is for
true?
adults too.
That's
Here it
right.
is.
You can use it at
Got
home.
it.
You can use
For
it at work.
adults, yeah.
Yeah. So
There's
remember, I
something-
said it was for mothers and for parents.
Right? When
Yeah,
your kids
that's
are
right.
at school, you just grab your Moodster meter and you
That's
let it all
right.
out. And there's something interesting about being able to acknowledge your feelings.
Yes.
I think that's something for children too. Like they have to, suffer inside and they
Because they
hold
don't
things
have a
in.
language.
They don't have that
Right.
language, I guess, for their emotions. So when they can say and acknowledge, I'm afraid right now, that's like I've acknowledged this.
Yes,
So I
and
think
parents
that's
can
super
say. The other thing about
important.
this tool, which I really love, is that it not only teaches kids to have a vocabulary for their feelings, but it acts as a platform for parents to then probe and ask questions. Well, you have a big angry face on today.
Yeah.
What's that about? And
Yeah.
especially if they say they're upset, we also have it's happy, angry, afraid, loving, and sad. So those are very primary feelings for
Right.
preschoolers. So we started with a simple vocabulary, and then you can expand on that in your home. Remember, again, parents are a child's first teacher, and the home is their first classroom. So another important thing is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, was giving kids nonverbal cues, helping them learn how to recognize feelings in themselves and in others. And this is the Moodster mirror, and it's really great because all children love to look in the mirror and make facial expressions
Right.
and look at themselves in the mirror. So this is a really great tool because there's a dial here, and the child can turn the dial to whatever they're feeling.
Oh, that is so cool.
This particular character is Snorf, Quigley, sorry, and he is our afraid character.
These names are so funny.
I know.
Quigley.
And so the child would push the button if they're feeling, say, afraid. We had a thunderstorm the other night, and one of our little guys that we met with yesterday said, all of a sudden, he just knew. He picked up the toy. He didn't have any directions or anything. He pushed the button, and it goes to
that's so
Quigley.
sweet.
And if you listen, Quigley teaches a strategy. All of these toys teach EQ strategies. So if we can listen.
Make it afraid like me. Quickly.
So it says, make an afraid face like me. So the child, so it's interactive,
Right.
which is great about all these toys, that they're interactive. So they're inviting the child, through play, and that's how kids learn.
To express their
Yes,
emotions.
and that plays the work of children. And if you can remember that, that's why we created these toys, because they're really engaging. But getting back to reading nonverbal cues, again, it's teaching kids, well, this is what I look like when I'm mad, or I'm happy, or I'm, excited or loving.
Right.
But then they also learn to recognize it in others, in their friends, in their teacher, in people they encounter during the day. So this is
Developing
a really
that
valuable,
empathy.
yes. So once they have the vocabulary, they can start, recognizing nonverbal cues. And this is just one of my favorites. And it's been a huge success with kids. And again, it's called the Moodsters Feelings Flashlight. And the children turn the dial to whatever they're feeling. So let's go to happy. We'll go to happy today, which is Cause, our yellow character. And this also teaches strategies. Sometimes we say it's a bedtime toy, and I'll talk to you about that later, but you push the button, and then the character will talk.
Catch your detective just like the Moodster.
Kids to do things.
Right.
It's an interactive toy, but the cool thing about this toy is it illuminates on the ceiling when the flashlight is talking to kids. Can you see that up
Or you
there?
can put it on the wall right back there.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
great.
So you can actually, so the child can actually take it to bed with them at night, because kids process their emotions during the day, and through play. And if they haven't maybe expressed all their emotions, sometimes they go to bed, and as parents, we all know kids get up and say, I need a drink of water, I want to sleep with you. I mean, we've heard every excuse in the book.
Right.
But really, they just haven't finished talking about their emotions. So
Right.
this is, I've always dreamed of having this, and it's been so great, and we've had such a response. All kids love
It's
flashlights.
like the secret tool for parents to get more sleep too.
I know. Very good. Yes, I told you I
I
developed
can
these
say
tools,
it.
these tools for mom. That's right. So
That is so
that is
great.
so these 3 tools,
So much fun.
toys, launched last year, right around Christmas time in Toys R Us. So we're and then each toy comes with a book, because we really know that parents love to read to their kids before bed at night. And so we have 3 books that are included in with the toys. And that's great. We have gotten such good feedbacks on the story. This is an introduction to the Moodsters, but any book you can pick up and it explains what the Moodsters are. So if you buy one toy and not the other, you'll know. This goes with the flashlight, the scary sleepover, and so it addresses, being afraid. The front of the book, something that I write for grown-ups like this to my kids. So we have pointers here.
Oh, that's so great.
And then every book includes what's called in the Moodster moment. For this particular one, it's when things seem scary and you tremble with fear, tell yourself to be brave and your courage will appear. So we taught kids through rhymes, and that was really great because we learned in our studies at the laboratory that preschoolers really could remember, doing rhymes. And then in the back of the book, there's a replica of the Moodster meter, and the child can just point to it. You can say, well, how do you think Cos was feeling? How do you think Quigley was feeling?
Right.
And so the child can point to it. How are you feeling after reading this story? And it's just a 1, 2, 3-step guide. So
So great.
anybody can pick up these books and read them to kids. What I like to do is just put the books out on the table, like a coffee table for kids. So it's not so intense. Okay, we're not going to go tonight. We're going to read about
Right.
feelings. You can say that. But I like it to be really natural with children. So they
Right.
pick it up, and we have heard from parents that they love the books and they read them
Oh.
over and over.
Oh.
Preschoolers learn through repetition.
Right.
So it's really neat, that we can teach and reinforce what the toys are
And
teaching.
now I'm curious because with
Excuse me.
children, like if they are attached to a stuffed animal or a blankie and something happens to it, it's like their world is over.
Yes.
These toys are, specifically connecting with their emotions and feelings. And
Yes.
have you heard of anything like, if the brother comes in and starts playing catch with the Moodster thermometer and something happens,
People
like
get
is it
upset.
devastating?
Well, we
Or
call
is it-
that clinically we call them love objects.
Yeah. It's a,
That's what we refer to them as.
Right.
But each child has their own name for that, and they really see them as extensions of themselves, especially for preschoolers.
Right.
And so they might get upset about that. But the other thing is that siblings can play with these together, and one can be one feeling and one can be another feeling, and it's a way through play that kids can express their feelings.
Sure.
And what we've tried to do with the Moodsters is that it's just, the brand is all based on education and helping facilitate the expression of feelings and helping kids understand them. And one of the things that we do in therapy with children is using creative arts, and that's helping kids draw out their feelings. I worked with kids during 9/11 and in other places around the world, and we always take crayons with us so children can draw about their feelings. And we created a new addition to our toy line this year, and this is great. It's called the Feelings Notebook. And so on the beginning, it comes with feelings crayons, and each crayon is a different color. It's the same, it would match the emotion of the Moodster's character.
So like blue is sad.
The sad, that would be Snorf, our sad character. So
Sad
we used
Snorf.
this again yesterday with this child. Years old, three years and 2 months, I think, wasn't he? And he was so darling, he just picked it right up. Excuse me. And at first he said he was feeling happy, because a lot of kids will say, I feel really happy, but you never know what's going on the inside. And then he turned it to sad, and he said, I was sad yesterday. There was something that had bothered him. But it came out just through working with the cover.
Expressive, so it's
They're all
very
the Moodsters
visual.
faces,
Yeah,
right.
They're all the the colors and the
In their
faces.
expression.
Right.
And then, for example, here's Quigley, the one we talked about before, being afraid. And here it has the Moodster moment, when things seem scary and you tremble with fear. Tell yourself to be brave, and your courage will appear. So then you open up the green for Quigley, and the child sees the face. He takes his feelings grants, or she, and then has a chance to color out whatever they're feeling. Then it not only facilitates expression of those feelings, but it gives mom or dad or the teacher, a caregiver, the opportunity to say, tell me about your drawing,
Right.
You look very afraid. Was something scary for you? And, it opens up a dialogue. And so if you look at here's Lolly, she's our loving character. So she has her own pink little, and she has one, for example, loving your friends and share. I'm going to let you read it.
Yeah, loving your friends and sharing your heart makes the world a better place right from the start.
And
That's
even
so
little ones
fun.
remember that.
So
It's
sweet.
just amazing.
Yeah.
And so this is a great modality.
And when will that be available?
Now
for
this
parents?
launches, this is new to our toy line. This week, and online.
That's so exciting.
They're online, and
This
then
week, but
for back
this
to
week that
school.
notebook is going to be in stores.
I hope so. Yes.
So we're
Never
very
know
short,
the
we're
exact
very
date,
soon
but
after.
right, it's kind
Very-
of like a movable
yeah.
thing. And then, excuse me.
It should be in every home.
Well, I know. I think that. I believe it because I'm such a proponent of emotional intelligence. But these are plush toys, and they're coming out this year for the first time.
These are so cute.
That's right. And,
I mean,
you
they're-
can collect.
If you want to be happy, there's a thing you can do.
It's talking right now. I don't know if you can hear on Facebook Live, but
That's right. Here's,
she's feeling so loving.
yes. And they're so cuddly. The plush is
Yeah,
wonderful.
they
but
feel
they
great.
each say sayings. And so,
Good to be kind.
so little kids can learn by carrying their lovey around,
Right.
or whatever you call it.
And she just said
their little
it's good
Moodster
to be
friends.
kind.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
it teaches.
Moodster says.
I feel frustrated.
She feels frustrated.
Are you feeling angry?
Are you feeling angry?
I'm feeling angry.
I'm feeling angry. So
And then if you keep pressing it, she'll say things, like what made you angry,
Yeah.
and so if parents can play with their children or just observe them, they'll notice which toys they're picking up and which one that maybe they're relating to. And so it's a good way to explore it, and that's why this really enforces it. Kids can come home from school and draw a picture of what, how they were feeling,
Yeah.
how their day was,
and
so.
these will also be available soon, right?
Yes,
The plush
and
toys?
the plush toys come with a 50-page. It's not just a sticker book, it's an activity book, but it also includes stickers. And again, the directions are in the front, and the keys,
great.
and then we have the stickers, and the Moodster moments are in them. So it's just a fun way for them to come home and play with it. So.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you,
sitting with
Dana. It
us
was
today
so much
and for
fun.
engaging with our Facebook Live audience.
It was really
We
fun.
had so much fun having you here,
Thank you.
talking all about back to school anxiety and
Thank you.
these amazing toys that have so much behind them, and they're so much fun for kids and for parents.
Great.
So especially
Thank you.
the thermometer that we all love.
Start there,
So-
right? Keep one in your office.
Yeah, and that flashlight was just amazing with the Moodster on the wall. It was
Oh,
really
thank
phenomenal.
you.
So thank you so much for
My
coming.
pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in. And stay tuned for more on Facebook Live for Best Products.